Second rounds of talks between the rebels and the government discusses consolidation of cessation of hostilities. The government blasts the rebels for inciting conflict on the media. The National Parliament endorses supplementary budget to the tune of 750 million South Sudanese pounds. Hello and welcome to South Sudan Television. Wherever you are tuned in, we are coming to you live from Juba with the latest news from around the country. My name is Grang John. These second rounds of peace talks between the government and the rebel group led by Machar discusses the agenda for the current talks. The proposed agenda from the delegation of the government include consolidation of cessation of hostilities signed on the 23rd of January 2014, permanent ceasefire leading to rebels joining the National Army to ensure other political processes already in progress like the constitutional review to proceed. Yet Patrick reports from the Ethiopian town of Debre Zeit.
Second week of Phase 2 Search for Peace for the world's youngest country. The government delegation proposes agenda it thinks will bring a permanent solution to the political conflict in South Sudan.
We sat and discussed this issue, and we have responded. We have presented our response to the envoys, and we have proposed an agenda. Instead of following the current agenda, we have proposed a new agenda, and in addition to that, we have proposed an overall inclusive process, national dialogue that will be held in South Sudan after the end of this phase. After the end of this phase, then there will be a new phase that will be attended by all the people of South Sudan, and an overall inclusive dialogue process that will be attended by all the stakeholders in the Republic of South Sudan.
Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, had made a proposed agenda for what it called political dialogue and national reconciliation.
We were given a non-paper by the IGAD special envoys, when the non-paper talked about the issues to be discussed in the current peace talk, in the current phase of the peace talks. However, the document to us is not acceptable. It's not acceptable simply because it actually emanated from the very statement which was made by the chief envoy in the opening session. All the issues which he raised there and then constituted the proposed agenda. That ultimately brought into question the neutrality of the chief negotiator.
The government's delegation says what has been put forward by IGAD requires national consultations, which can only be done in South Sudan.
The government says the root causes of the current political conflict should be brought forward by the rebels and discussed in view of finding a lasting solution to the political crisis in the country. Whether this will be done or not is what we wait to see. Oyet Patrick, SSTV, Adulala Resort, Debre Zeit, Ethiopia.
Thank you, Yet Patrick, for that wonderful report from there. The government has reiterated its commitment to find a comprehensive settlement to the current political impasse in the country without any condition attached to it. The Presidential Press Secretary Atany Weka Atany, however, said the government regrets the rebels' continuous violation of the signed cessation of hostilities. The rebels, however, continue to publicly express their interest to continue fighting the government, a move Juba says threatens the spirit of dialogue. Atany called on the rebels to uphold the spirit of dialogue as the only means to end the political turmoil in the country.
Threatened that if peace agreement in Addis Ababa were to fail, then they will continue to go for armed struggles, which is not a very new thing, because after the failed coup attempt on the 15th of December, the rebel of Machar has started to launch war against the people of South Sudan, and when we see the rebel spokesperson threatening to continue armed struggles, we don't find any new language there, because our teams in Addis Ababa has been authorized and has been given the full mandate to come back with peace in their hands. We don't have any alternative as government. We don't have any alternative other than to have peace for this country. I think it is the rebels that are having alternative, because they have alternative of armed struggle, which if armed struggles continue, it will be the same people of South Sudan who have suffered since the 15th of December failed coup attempt. And in the armed struggles that is threatened by those of Borgadwich will actually be inflicting casualties and life-threatening to the people of Republic of South Sudan.
And the National Legislative Assembly in its sitting endorsed the supplementary budget for the fiscal year 2013-2014 amounting to 750 million South Sudanese pounds. The sitting, chaired by the Speaker, Manasseh Magog Rundia, resolved that 500 million South Sudanese pounds will be reallocated to the army, and more than 26 million SSP will be used for the peace mobilization campaign throughout the country, and the remaining amount will be used for humanitarian activities. The supplementary budget was tabled to the House by the chairperson of the Specialized Committee on Economy and Fiscal, Professor Paulo Gale.
To address the current national crisis, which has created substantial expenditure requirement not foreseen at the time of submission and approval of the financial year 2013-2014 annual budget.
The chairperson for Peace and Reconciliation Commission, Chua Rambang, is calling on authorities in Jonglei State to return to the state so that those who are in hiding places can go back home. Rambang said the remark during his meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation in Juba. Martin Jada reports.
In a bid to pave ways for peace and reconciliation in the country, the Commission for Peace and Reconciliation is now working on how the country can embark into the reconciliation process. The chairperson of the commission, Chol Rambang, says the process will not be successful if those displaced did not return. He urged both the governor and the officials working in Jonglei State to return so as to encourage those in the hiding.
We're appealing to the government of the state and the governor in person and the whole administration to go back to the board, because there's a very great need that President Board will accelerate the coming back of the community into the area and so on. And this process will give the momentum of the reconciliation among the citizens of Jonglei State.
Following the agreement on the cessation of hostilities, efforts were made, although not successful, to convince the displaced. Vulnerable groups like children are now unable to go to schools because most of the schools in Bor, Malakal and Bentiu are not operational. The United Nations Children Fund said they shall work out modalities to find out immediate solution to this problem.
And we discussed both the longer-term elements of our program of cooperation, with particular focus on issues such as education, the importance of immunization, the importance of health, but we also took into account the importance of making sure that the humanitarian response that is ongoing is well-resourced and is well-staffed and moving forward.
We'll do everything possible to mobilize the resources for that, while at the same time focusing on the longer-term development. It is both that's needed, an immediate humanitarian response. With the rains coming, it is essential to pre-position supplies, to get all the necessary assistance in place so that we get through the rainy season with support to the population. But at the same time, we want to continue to support education, continue to support the things that will help children in their future.
UNICEF Director for Private Fundraising, Leila Pakala, assured the government that UNICEF shall mobilize funds and discuss with the regional office to ensure South Sudan given a priority. Martin J. Gabriel, SSTV News, Juba.
The Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Dr. John Guy Yu, appeals to education partners operating in the country to join hands with the government to provide learning space to the school-going children. The minister made the remark in a meeting with a team from UNICEF led by Ted Chaiban. The meeting discussed the impacts of the current political crisis on education, which has affected some candidates who are sitting for secondary school examinations.
How we can do it together in terms of access to health and nutrition, water, sanitation and hygiene, prepositioning supplies in locations where there are displaced people to take care of their needs, but also the importance of resuming learning for those populations now that the school year is underway.
And a ministerial order from the Ministry of Health. Health Minister Dr. Riek Guy Kok has issued a ministerial order directing the doctors, pharmacists and dentists who are deployed to the counties to report back to their offices with immediate effect. The ministerial order number 1/2014 exempts those deployed to Jonglei, Upper Nile and Unity states respectively. And the acting Secretary General of the ruling Sudan People's Liberation Movement, SPLM, Dr. Ann Ito, praised South Sudanese residing in Uganda for maintaining peace among themselves. Dr. Ito particularly hailed the role played by the South Sudanese Embassy for bringing the members of the ethnic group residing in Kampala together. Addressing South Sudanese in Kampala, Dr. Ito condemned the rebel group led by Machar for inciting political violence. Our reporter Leandro Lotok has more on the story.
SPLM Acting Secretary General Dr. Ann Ito has rejected information circulating around claiming that SPLM was to blame for the violence that erupted on the December 15th. The acting SG was addressing a large gathering of South Sudanese at their embassy in the Ugandan capital Kampala on Saturday. The December 15th failed coup attempt led by Machar resulted in the death of thousands of innocent people, the majority murdered by Machar's rebels. Dr. Ito stressed that the SPLM's commitment to a united, peaceful and prosperous South Sudan was as strong as ever.
Did we ever mobilize? Did the SPLM ever mobilize anybody against somebody? No. We mobilized for liberation, for freedom, for a better country for ourselves and our children. This has always been and would always be the only basis for our mobilization. So I want you here in Uganda and Kampala to know it has never happened that SPLM sat down and said, hey, you, go and kill. It never did.
There was no justification, Ito pointed out, for Machar and his henchmen to plan to seize power by force, as both the SPLM constitution and the transitional constitution of the republic set out clear mechanisms and procedures for the peaceful and democratic transfer of power. She urged the South Sudanese community in Uganda to pay no heed to tribalism, but to embrace peace and foster unity.
Those who could not live up to the standard, up to the values, up to the objective of SPLM are those who misled the rest of South Sudanese to go and kill. They fell short of the values of SPLM. Killing is not our value. Killing a brother is not our value. Looting is not our value. Burning houses to the scrap. If you see the picture of Bentiu, of Jongole, of Bor, of Malakal, this is not a South Sudanese heart.
Speaking during the same occasion, the press secretary in the office of the president, Atenywe Kateny, called on members of South Sudanese community to rise above their tribes and clans and recognize and appreciate their shared identity as South Sudanese. Ateny blasted the Western media for flaring up the conflict as pitting the Dinka against the Nuer, explaining that this was unfounded.
If there is anyone who is a brother in South Sudan, a blood brother to Dinka is Nuer. I tell you to be honest. If there is any brother, anyone who is a brother of Nuer by blood is also Dinka. let us not forget this. The President of the Republic has issued 8 points of the roadmap. That is starting from humanitarian access to those affected. That talk about the political transformation and the number of the things that the President wanted to see his government doing.
South Sudanese ambassador in Kampala, Samuel Loate, and chairman of the South Sudanese community in Uganda, Ugwat Othopad Pete, also addressed the gathering, during which the acting Secretary General also recognized the special role played by South Sudanese women in Uganda in fostering peace and unity.
Well, elders of the ethnic groups in Jonglei State met in Juba to explore a possibility of encouraging natives of the area to return home and live in peace. The meeting, attended by elders and intellectuals from the respective communities, resolved to work for peace and reconciliation among the people of Jonglei State. Both Johnson Matur reports.
Let there be peace and unity among the communities in Jonglei State. These are call made by the members of this state at a meeting held in Juba Bridge Hotel over the weekend. The leaders are here appealing the members of their communities to pull together in order to participate in a success story of nation building. Jonglei communities further condemns, in as strongest possible term, the destruction of lives and properties carried out by Machar and his forces. Residents of this state are calling on the world to hold Machar accountable for massive loss of lives and properties. He instigated at the time when South Sudanese have concentrated their energies in rebuilding of their nations. This meeting was held under the auspices of the caretaker governor of Jonglei State, General John Kong Nguyen, who urges the elders and intellectuals of Jonglei community to unite and work together to reconcile their state. The governor said it was an opportunity for Jonglei people to come together to chart the way forward for their state.
ناقشوا عن الرجوع بتاع الحكومة في جونغلي وكل المجتمعات بتاع ال 11 communities طلعوا بكوندمنيشن لفيلكو تحت القيادة بتاع مشار والناس الوالي له.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Rachel Nyadak Fall, said the state leaders should work hard to resolve the unity of the people in their state.
So we all of us agree that it is a good meeting because what happened on the 15th has affected Jonglei State so much, and everybody ran away. The capital board remained with nobody except the army only.
On this part, Honorable Deng Dao appreciated the effort exerted by the government in protecting the civil population. Deng appealed to the government to construct roads that can connect the greater board with the Nyintar-Malwal for the security purposes.
And of course, we took this opportunity to brief the rest of the leadership of the greater Jonglei about our meeting with the President of the Republic, General Salva Kiir Mayardit. He called us as the members of the greater board about the return of the government and some of the concerns with regard to going back of the members from the other communities. And we are very much aware that people in Bor were affected.
State today gathered at Juba Bridge Hotel to discuss the way forward on how to solve the monotonous question being asked by the Mored, that what is wrong with Jonglei State and why all the rebellions, war are drunken and cause great atrocities to Jonglei's communities. Reporting for SSTV News in Juba, I'm Port Johnson Matura Kesh.
The aftermath of Riek Machar rebellion and destruction is still affecting civilians across the country. Thousands of displaced persons seeking refuge in Melut County of Upper Nile State are exposed to severe humanitarian situation. The internally displaced person lost their property after Riek Machar rebels previously attacked and looted Baliet County. Thousands of people homeless. Local authorities in the region appeal for quick intervention to help the displaced persons. The Anglican Church has donated food items to Juba Teaching Hospital. The Bishop of Melut County Parish of Upper Nile, Bolchon Ring, currently in Juba, said the food donation is a relief support to the children in the hospital. The director for Juba Teaching Hospital, Dr. Wani Lolik, appreciated the role played by the church for promoting peace building and unity among the people of South Sudan.
Share it with you. This is what he said, I quote. Our common bond is the love for Jesus Christ and his gospel, which is for all the people of the world. It is an honor to be able to link our hands together with our brothers and sisters there in Southern Sudan, and to know we share one message, one goal, and one hope.
The broken hearts of Southern Sudanese must be touched. Then it means the church has got a role to play. And if the church is having a role to play, then this is the time that we have got to get out of the situation we are in. I hope you understand what I mean. There is no country without another tribe. There is no country of one tribe.
Two suspects who stole money for offering from the church in Juba are in custody to answer charges for robbing 13,000 South Sudanese pounds from a clergyman in Juba. As James Arusia Tanga reported, the stolen cash was a contribution raised by the church through the offering to buy musical instruments for praise and worship.
They had tried to rob from God. These two teenagers decided to snatch what was meant for purchasing God's musical instruments for Ethiopian church here in Juba. The head of the Republican Guard, Major General Marial Chanwong, where the suspects were still apprehended, said it was evil for the two boys to steal from God, and they will now have to face the law.
والبلاغ ودين الناس بتاع نيجي سكيورتي والناس دي تابعوهم لحد ما مشوا لقوا حجر لهم هوتيل وكده قبضوا وفتشوا لقوا منه قروش ناس القروش بيقولوا قروش بتاعهم 14,700 والناس بتاع نيجي سكيورتي بيقولوا انه القروش هم اللي لقوا من جماعه دي 8,452 القروش ده 8,452 قدامنا ده باقي قروش هم كربوا لانه من كان ماشي هاجر هوتيل وقاعدين الناس بيشربوا فيه مريسه وانا بشكر الناس بتاعنا بتاع السكيورتي قبل الجماعه دي بقياده بتاع البريغيدير ابو ستيفن مع الناس بتاعنا بتاع توب الليل ونازل هسه هنقود في سجن وهنسلم له بوليس عشان يتحقق معهم بعدين يدفعوا باقي قروش الفدا اما القروش الموجوده اللي جابوا لنا بنسلم لسياده البنيه ده مع اخوه كان لقوا منه قروش ومن جدوا باك وجدوا مساندات بتاعهم كله بتاع الإقامة هنا باسبورت وجنسيات بتاعهم ودوكيومنتس بتاعهم جدوا وقبلوا كده ضغطوا عليه ومن قالوا في محل أنا جدعنا فوق باك وده فوق الناس بتاعنا بتاع السكيورتي يوم مش لقى وثائق بتاع الجماعة ديل بتاع
Receiving God's answer to his prayers, the church member together with the treasurer who had thought to have lost all the church contribution appreciated the security personnel for recovering the money.
After lost this money, we was going home, we was praying for God. God, we don't have power now. We leave this money. You search your money. I was praying. Then I called by her telephone is with them. Somebody talk with me. You can't be fast, your money with us. I was calm, and I was get this money and around, yeah.
The money together with the traveling documents were handed back to the owners and the suspects transported to the police station for legal measures. James Arusatanga, SSTV.
Stealing offering from the Church of God, a portrait of shame. Well, that brings us to the end of our news bulletin coming to you from Juba. Thanks for tuning to South Sudan Television. On behalf of the TV crew in the studio, I'm Greg John saying bye-bye. But remember to stay tuned to more program coming up on South Sudan Television.
Juno.
nation.